What's up, everybody? It's Kelpsy, and today I'm bringing you my Necromancer build for PvP. This is the new one for the new update of Update 43, which has been out for a while, but I've been testing a bunch of different things on the Necromancer, and I found a couple different options for you guys, and I really have been enjoying it a lot because of the new buffs for it, so I want to show it to you guys so you can check it out, because I think the Necromancer is back in a great way. Here's our character sheet. I'm an Imperial, as per usual, for PvP. For this build, I would suggest anything that's going to give you more utility. Something like an Orc would work really well. Kashyyyks always work well. But we're focusing more on magic on this build. We do have, of course, some stamina skills, but for the most part, it's magic. So I would recommend something more towards like High Elf, or even a Breton would work well. I like the Imperial because I like the cost reduction, because Necromancer skills are pretty pricey. So we're running 32 magic, 32 health. Now with this, we do not have a huge magic pool. We're sitting at 22k magic but 36k health, and this is because this is for 1vxing. This is for big fights. It works really, really well in battlegrounds. It works really well soloing in Cyrodiil when you're not with a group, or with like a 2 to 4 man group. Like, it's like, this is for fighting large groups. You can definitely move these attributes around for higher magicka, but stay above that 32k health. But when we're buffed, the amount of resistance we have, it's really nice. I'm running Thief Mundus and then Bewitched Sugar Skulls. Now, I'm not running Vampirism right now because of how expensive the spells are and our resource pools. If you want to make it more tanky and even more in line with 1vxing, I would definitely run the Vampirism so that you can get the Undeath passive. But I'm not running it strictly because I don't want to have to spend more on my spells, and I'm not a huge fan of Vampirism, so I'm not running it. If you want to make it a much more like beefy build for 1vxing, and it works really well with this, it's just you're gonna have to tweak some things for more sustain. But as it sits, I'm not running it. If you want to, do it. And of course, Bewitched Sugar Skulls, anything that helps us get our stats up higher works really well with this build, but I like Bewitched Sugar Skulls. Now for skills. For skills, it's pretty straightforward stuff. We are running Blighted Blastbones, we're running Mortal Coil, Force Pulse, Necrotic Potency, Unnerving Boneyard, and then Glacial Colossus on the front bar. On the back bar, we are running Summoner's Armor, Spirit Guardian, Elemental Susceptibility, Resolving Vigor, Resistant Flesh, and then Ravenous Goliath. Now, Ravenous Goliath, if you've done Sigil Order, Temporal Guard will work really well here. This is just a savior ultimate. I really like Ravenous Goliath because this is going to put us all the way into almost 70k health. When you're in Cyrodiil, it will be about 70k health. In Battlegrounds, you're going to be sitting around 65 to 67k health. And you're going to be doing a huge AoE of damage. It's healing you. It's just going to cause havoc. I love using it. I like this a lot. But Temporal Guard's also a really good one because it gives you that defensive buff on the back bar. And Glacial Colossus, of course, because major vulnerability, and it's a great ult. Now, to go through the reasoning for these, we're using Resistance Flesh because it's a good heal. Now, it does fuck us over because it gives us Minor Defile, which doesn't help us at all. But when you use this when you're low, you grant the target, which is us, hopefully, the physical and spell resistance equal to half the amount healed for 3 seconds. Now, that helps a tremendous amount. And if you're running Vampirism and you're using this when you're low, it just makes you crazy beefy, because you're going to be skyrocketing your resistances. Now, even without Vampirism, this gives us huge resistances when you cast this when you're low. Now, Resolving Vigor, of course, it's like 15k health over 5 seconds. Gives us resistances. Staple heal for PvP. Now, Elemental Susceptibility, we're using this because it, of course, makes them get hit with Major Breach, but more so because we're using the staff that uses it to tether the people. Spirit Guardian. I mean, it's a staple of Necromancers. It heals us, heals our allies. You cast it, you just keep it up. But also, since it's a Spirit Guardian, it takes 10% of our damage. So this just makes us beefier. So 10% of the damage we're taking skirts right over to him. He dies, recast it. Summoner's Armor. Gives us major and minor resolve. So giving us 5,900 and 2,900 resistance for 30 seconds. We're keeping that up nonstop, and it reduces the cost of our blast bones by 14%. And it gives us a corpse to use. So it has a 3-piece of greatness. It is amazing. Keep this up at all times that you can remember it. This is like the de facto, this is what you want to be sitting at. So, Unnerving Boneyard. So, the reason we're using this isn't for the 8,200 frost damage. It's for the 10 seconds inside of it. It gives the major breach and minor vulnerability. That is fucking massive to be able to have access to applying both of those. Because this is reducing their spell resistance, well, physical spell resistance by 5,900, and increasing their damage taken by 5% for 4.1 seconds each tick. So that means they step in it, you have 4.1 seconds, which is a long time in PvP realm, that they have 6k less resistances and they're taking 5% more damage. You cast that on a doorway or in a pinch point, this is a pain in the ass. Now, if there's a corpse there, which we're going to have access to corpses because of our blast fence, or if you cast this on yourself and your summon armor fell off, or of course you killed enemies, it's going to do 30% more damage. But again, we don't really care about the damage. It's all about those debuffs, and those debuffs are massive. And these are some of the reasons why Necromancer's in such a good place right now, is those debuffs. Now, we're running Necrotic Potency next. So this is when there's a corpse nearby, you suck the life out of the corpse. It's a lot like the Templar version of it, but spooky. It gives us 6 ultimate, heals us for 1,700 health every second for 2 seconds, so about 2,400 health. It scales off of our max health, so it'll be lower if you're lower, higher if you're higher. But this reduces the damage we take by 3% by having it on the bar. So again, this is 3% down, and the Spirit Guardian's taking 10%, so we're already 13% less damage just existing. Force Pulse, we're using Force Pulse because this does 1,900 flame damage, frost damage, and shock damage, and then also affects up to 2 nearby enemies, and they take 6,700 magic damage if they were already inflicted with a status effect. So that is big, especially because of the staff that we are using to help with this. Mortal Coil is our next skill. You siphon the remnants, this causes like a coil of it, but we're using this because it gives us big magic and stamina every 2 seconds, 160 while siphoning the corpse. It gives us 13,000 health over 12 seconds for us and all allies near us, and increases our healing done by 3% by having it on the bar. So this helps us stay alive, it heals us when we're in use, and it gives us resources. It is great, and since we have constant access to corpses thanks to blast bones and the armor, and killing other players, great. And Blighted Blast Bones because, well, it's Blighted Blast Bones. It hits like a truck. You cast this, it jumps at people, causes disease damage. It applies disease status effect, causing them major defile for 4 seconds, reducing their healing received and damage shield strength by 12%. So this is a sorcerer's worst nightmare because we're lowering that shield they have to spam. This lowers the amount of heals that other players can get, and it's simple to cast and it's cheap. This is really our only stamina cost besides sprinting around, and it's only 1,700 stamina. So you cast this, you let it do its business, and it's nasty. And if you have this up and like let's say you're 1v1ing a Nightblade and they go in Viz, as long as this guy's standing there, the second they pop out, this guy jumps on him. So like it has a timer once it's up to jump. So those are the skills, and now we're going to move on to our champion points. So for CP, very straightforward stuff for PvP. Master at Arms for direct damage because of our Force Pulse, Blast Bones. Deadly Aim, single target, Force Pulse, Blast Bones. Ironclad reduces our damage taken. That, again, 3% more damage taken off, so now we're at 16% damage reduction just existing. And then Focus Mending because we want to heal even more. Now for red, Boundless Vitality, Celerity, Pain's Refuge, Slippery. Now, Slippery, you can swap this out for something. If you are going to like try to nonstop 1vx, I would do something like Survival Instincts. that would be a great one for more like strict 1vxing, but I'm doing mine more for like kiting around and then fighting big groups. But those are the CPs. Now we can get into the meat of the build, and we will talk about our sets. Now, we're going to start fourth right. We are running one major set, a monster set, and then arena weapons. Well, one trial weapon, one arena. So we are running the Asylum's Lightning Staff. Now, I'm going to leave it up to you guys which version of the staff you want to run. If you want to 1vx even more, run the Frost Staff. If you want to do more damage focused on your DOTs, run the Fire Staff. I like the Lightning Staff because of the passives, it gives us a little bit more of that direct damage. So with this, we're using this to amplify our Force Pulse. So every second cast of Force Shock will always apply the Burning, Concussion, and Shield status effects. The Force Shock must be cast within 5 seconds of each other for this to happen. Well, since this is our spammable, that is no problem. So this staff makes it so that when you hit that Force Pulse twice, that second time is going to put Burning, Concussion, and Shield on them every time. It takes the guesswork out of the proc. It just happens. And because of that, we are not running an enchantment. We are running Sharpened on this to get the pin higher, and we are running Double Dot Poison. Double Dot Poison is very straightforward. I'm pretty sure it's like Scrib Jelly, Butterfly Wing, and like Water Hyacinth, and this just gives us 2 different poison dots from the same poison. It's just a pain in the ass when you get hit by it, and that's where we're using it, because we're a pain in the ass. And then I'm running the Vatishran's Perfected Ice Staff, and it doesn't have to be perfected. I just have it because I played the hot hell of that arena. But this one causes that weakness of elements to tether, and this is just great for applying pressure to a player. If you're 1v1ing, this thing is like one of the top tier weapons you can have, because it attaches a tether that does 1100 flame, shock, or frost damage every second, and then it increases by 1% every second up to 20%. So you keep this up, it's doing a good amount of damage, and it's just a set and forget, and they literally have to run away from you to be able to not get hurt worse by it. So it's great. Of course, doesn't have to be perfected, doesn't have to be golded. I would prefer it to be sharpened or defending, whichever one you want to do, but I've got mine in sharpened and perfected Ice Staff. Ice Staff is a requirement though, because you want this defensiveness on the back bar. Now for our main set, we are running Order's Wrath. So Order's Wrath, it's a staple. It is a crafted set. Order's Wrath, I am running chest, legs, boots light, chest and legs are heavy. I have tri-stat enchants on those, and both of those, well, that's reinforced, that's well fitted, and the boots are divines. And then I'm running Sash of the Trainee and Impin, and then Gloves of the Druid, well fitted. Now, I am mixing and matching my enchants because of the fact that we're not running massive pools of resources outside of our health, because we're really a beefy boy on this build. And because of that, you can mix and match the enchants all you want. You can make all of these magic to increase your damage. But I don't think the damage is bad the way it sits, and I like being the center of attention and frontlining on this character, because thanks to all of our damage mitigation, you can be up front the whole time. We are running an amulet and a ring. I have Swift on these because since I don't have the Sigil Order line and I don't have a space for Race Against Time, I need some giddy up, so I'm running Swift on both of these. If you want to run Infuse to just increase your weapon damage even further, do it. But I like Swift because I like to be able to be a little bit more mobile. And then Barkin's Ring of Majesty, this gives us our extra 100 weapon and spell damage with 1100 armor, and with the Infused with a weapon damage enchant, weapon and spell damage enchant. And then for our monster set, we are running Roxa the Warped. Now, I would get both of these in well fitted. I do not have it in well fitted on this character, but they would do really well with it. Or, of course, Divines, whatever you would like. These aren't that big of a deal. I would run them well fitted because of, it's PvP, so we're sprinting a lot. And this is strictly to get that stamina magic recovery. You get all of the stacks up. It increases everything by 8 every stack, up to 30 stacks. So good amount of fight there. And it really helps in PvP because, as you know, I mean, fuck, it's hard to get out of combat in Cyrodiil just to get on your horse. So when you're in a key through everything, I'm just going to show you real quick what the character sheet looks like when we have our spells up. So just these two spells, we're sitting at 25,000 spell resist and 22,000 physical resist. And that is just keeping up our standard stuff. And then, of course, the Spirit Guardian is going to take 10% of the damage that we're getting hit with. And so our front bar is still, I mean, we are sitting at high resistances, super high health, and our health recovery is good. Both of our stamina and magic recovery aren't bad, but of course those are both going to break well beyond 1,000 when our Rocks of the Warp stacks are up. So this build is really good at those sustained long fights and being able to stay in the fight and front line those fights. So I've been having a blast with it. I think that the Necromancer is in a really healthy spot where it is. Now, going off of this, if you want to do a little bit more damage and you don't care about as much as being tanky, of course, switch your enchants to magicka to increase that pool. You can swap out Order's Wrath with Daedric Trickery. That'll really help you with like damage increase, or even like maybe Clever Alchemist. Clever Alchemist would be really good here. Swap this out with Daedric Trickery, Clever Alchemist, something else that's just going to give you a damage increase. And then swap out Necrotic Potency with Mystic Siphon. So you'll be trading out, or of course Mortal Coil if you want to lower your healing increase and keep that damage reduction. You'll lose a front bar heal, but you'll gain 3% damage done. So it's up to you guys. We're using tri-stat pots, so this will also give you the Major Savagery and Prophecy for 20 seconds. So you'll be benefiting from it in several different ways. It's up to you what you want to do there. I like being tanky and frontlining and being in a fight. If you want to change it up, I would just suggest going to a little bit more damage-focused set, like, as I said, something like Clever Alchemist, Daedric Trickery, along those lines. Even Order's Wrath would be fine, but just swap out something, either Mortal Coil with that Mystic Siphon or Necrotic Potency, whichever you'd prefer, and then switch your enchants to more focus on your magicka pool, and just turn the attributes from 36k health to closer to 32k health, and then make that magic get closer to 30k, and you'll be doing more damage, but you won't be as frontlining tanky. But that's just an alternative if you guys want to do it. Of course, as always, thanks so much for checking out the build. I'm going to attach some gameplay footage of the sets so you guys can check it out. And as always, thank you so much. Thanks for supporting the channel, and I will see you guys next time.